Hey, it's me back with another Audition tutorial, and in this video we're going to be talking about volume controls and all the different ways that you can manipulate volume, which is important because you will be mixing. And mixing just simply refers to the combining of multiple audio sources or elements and achieving a balance that is appropriate and tasteful for the project that you're working on. So let's hop into Audition and have a look at some of these tools and options that are available to us, starting in the edit window. And I start in the edit window because that's where you start before you go to the multi-track. So let's look at what we have here that's available to us. And as you can see on the screen, I have a piece of audio. It's an audio clip of some kind, and it's intentionally recorded low. And the first option that's available to us is the Normalize function, and that is under Effects, Amplitude, and Normalize. And if you watch the shortcut video that I produced, I've assigned it to the letter N on the keyboard. Here's the dialog for Normalize. It says Normalize to 100%. And here's how it works. It's going to scan this file. It's going to find the loudest peak, and then it's going to turn it up until it hits the ceiling. So it won't go over the 0 dB threshold, because if it goes over 0, it will be distorted. And we can manually distort things, but Normalize won't do that. It'll just make it as loud as possible and leave it at that. So if I hit apply, you'll see that now we have more robust waveforms on the screen, and this is a normalized file. So if you normalize everything, let's say you've got a clip that's this loud and a clip that's this loud, and you normalize them both. When you put them side by side in your multi-track session, you will find that you don't have to do as much work trying to balance them out. This is about levels. It's about making sure your audience can listen to your pieces easily and with a degree of pleasure. So Normalize is one option. Only apply this to your foreground elements. Your voiceover maybe, but you should be recording your voiceover, close to 0 or -6 at the very least. Normalize your clips, normalize sound effects maybe, but you don't need to normalize background sound, ambience. Never normalize room tone. That's a waste of time. Room tone is in the background anyway, so if you turn it up, then you're just going to have to turn it down later. That makes no sense. And room tone is mostly just air or noise to begin with. So foreground elements, normalize your foreground elements. So let's say, we don't really, we're not committed to only normalizing things. If you look closely, there's this little floating dock with a volume knob on it in the edit window at all times, and you can simply manipulate that as well. And if you're good at it, you can eyeball a rough normalization anyway. So I've got a peak here and I've got a peak here. I wouldn't want to put those over 0. For example, you can sort of redline it, and if you've seen audio recordings before, you'd probably guess that that's more or less just a big white splatter on the screen. So I'm going to undo that because that's not good for our purposes. But you do have Normalize, and you've got this little volume control here in the edit window. There are some other ones under the Amplitude menu, but we'll get to those another time. Let's go to the multi-track and look at some of the options that we have here. So I've placed our little test block on a track in the multi-track, and let's zoom in here. I'm going to just squish the little scroll bar on the side, and the first one that you may be guessing, if your instincts are true, is the envelope. So you've got the little yellow line on the screen here, and you can automate volume changes over time using the volume envelope. So as you can see on the screen, there will be a little dip here, a little rise here, and a fade here. That's pretty basic stuff. If you want to get rid of the nodes, you can just drag them up or down. And the volume envelope, again, is used for automating volume changes over time. But it can also be used for something else. If you have no nodes on the line, you can simply grab it and you can drag it down. And this is a quick and dirty way to reduce the overall volume of a single block. But there's arguably a better way to do that, especially if you're not using the envelope for anything else. Sorry, if you are going to use the envelope for something else, if you look in the lower left-hand corner of every block, you should see this little thing here that looks like a Wi-Fi quality or status symbol. you can grab that and you can actually reduce the volume or increase the volume much in the same way as the floating dock in the edit window provided us. Addition by subtraction. If I'll repeat this from a previous video, addition by subtraction basically means that if you've got something too loud compared to a clip that's not as loud afterwards, you don't want to boost this one. It's perhaps a reduction of this one that you want to do. So careful going up because you can get distortion. And it's better to err on the reducing side. If you've got a series of clips from the same source and you're finding that you are consistently, just for example, reducing the clips or the blocks by -3, -6, whatever it is, consistently, perhaps consider this next option, which is overall track volume. And on the left-hand side here, you can see there's a volume knob on the track, and you can turn full tracks up or down. And this is really good if you don't need to automate any volume, and you're pretty sure that everything just needs to come down a little bit. And this will happen if you have a series of clips that are slightly off mic or recorded in an empty room or something. Perhaps your voiceover is too present or too powerful in contrast to those clips, so you can just bring your voiceover track down just a little bit. Use your ears. It's all about loudness, which will come in another video. Make sure everything is equal loudness. And we'll talk about this in that video, but the VU meter will only be a reference or a guide for that. But it all comes down to critical ear and listening to things properly. So those are a number of ways that we can manipulate volume in Adobe Audition. It comes down to the decisions that you want to make and how you want things to sound. Mixing is all about balance. It's like adding seasonings and spices to a soup or a stew of some kind. When you've added too much salt, you're going to need to add something else to counterbalance it or what have you. If you've got questions, get at me and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.